The number one priority is locating Ms. Scott. I just want to make that very clear.
A heartbreaking update in the case of a young woman who had been missing for nearly 2 weeks.
It is with profound sadness that we share the tragic passing of our beloved daughter, Kada Scott.
We'll tell you how authorities were led to the gruesome discovery, plus the creepy details we're learning about the suspect accused of stalking her.
Kara, call the cops. Call the...
This is Inside the Crime, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner. 23-year-old Kada Scott was last seen on October 4th. Police spent weeks searching for her, and then they got a tip. Go back, she's there, look again. It was an update no one wished to hear.
Obviously, initially we received a tip to go to a meeting last week. We received a tip to go to the Ada Lewis Middle School. Investigators went, did a thorough search. Essentially what the new tip was this weekend was go back. It was go back, she's there, look again, and they did give more specific details in terms of where to look.
Just 2 weeks ago, Philadelphia police were searching everywhere for a sign of Kada Scott.
We've been investigating that since that time, really trying to do everything we can to figure out where she might have went. Like, her car was found at the location. No one has received a call from her. We know her phone is not in operation anymore. So a lot of what we're doing is following the evidence that we have, witnesses that gave us information. Some of that evidence has led us to this area. We've looked in other areas too. This particular area, the Aubrey Arboretum, all right, it's a very large area. It's all wooded area mostly. There's a lot of fences and activity going on in there. So it wasn't very easy to search with just a few detectives. So we enlisted the help of our academy classes. They're here. They were given specific instructions by our crime scene investigation people, and we're just looking in the area. To this point, nothing has been found that's related to the investigation. We found some clothing items, which we have no idea if they're related to this or not, but they were taken just to look into. But at this point, we're just doing everything we can. We try to do that on missing person investigations. We do everything we can to make sure we run down every lead. This particular case led us to this area. It's a very large area, and we had to do what we had to do. It's not the first time we've done this. I've been in the department over 35 years. I've worked in the Detective Bureau a long time. We've done this in missing persons in the past, where we enlisted the help of the academy.
Frank, how concerned are you about, she's been gone almost a week now, no cell phone, no bank, no any trace, right?
Yeah, 23-year-old who, is a social media person, as we hear. She disappeared off social media, so it's concerning. Any young people today, they can't live without having a phone in their hand. So that's a concern. You left her car behind. It's certainly something that's not usual of somebody who's missing voluntarily.
On October 4th, the 23-year-old had just finished her shift at an assisted living facility, but she never made it home. Detectives noticed her car still in the parking lot, but inside the vehicle, though, none of her personal items were there. No cell phone, no iPad, no keys, none of that. Her coworkers didn't notice any strange behavior, but her family told investigators she was getting harassing messages. A week into the search led investigators to the Aubrey Arboretum, where her phone was last pinged. Officers in their canine unit scoured through the property. Still no sign of her, though. A couple days later, the FBI joined the investigation. So did the Philadelphia Homicide Unit, even though they were still treating the case as a missing persons. The first break in the case came on October 15th, when 21-year-old Keon King was arrested and charged with kidnapping, false imprisonment, and stalking. Investigators have previously said they believe he was the last person to see Kada the night she went missing. But officials noted he had a suspicious past. There's a reason Law&Crime is the go-to spot for all legal and true crime content on YouTube. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest personal injury law firm. They're a firm with more than 1,000 attorneys, and that's because they win a lot. They've recovered over $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients. In the past few months, a client in Florida received $12 million after the insurance company offered just $350,000. In Pennsylvania, a client was awarded $26 million, 40 times the insurer's $650,000 offer. Another client in Pennsylvania received $29 million after being offered only $500,000. Even if you think your case isn't worth millions, why not start a claim and fight for what you deserve? Morgan & Morgan makes it so easy you can start a claim from your phone in just 8 clicks. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/insidethecrime by clicking the link below or scanning the QR code on your screen.
So it's very important that this individual, who does have prior history of being arrested, especially for this very same thing, this year was charged with kidnapping another female acquaintance. That case was dismissed from court, and I'll explain it. It's going to be refiled now as we're going to move forward to attempt. So he's being really charged with 2 cases today of kidnapping. And in that case, it involves assaults that occurred during the kidnapping. So this is a pattern of behavior.
Video quickly circulated of Keon's alleged past. This video posted to TikTok reportedly shows Keon peeping through the window of another woman's home.
Go away, don't come over here. Karen, call the cops. Call the... It's all these kids in here. Call the cops, you dumb. He coming around the window. Go that way, Cameron. Yeah, go away, bye. Go away, bye. Yep, bye. Bye. Keon out here.
Under the video, the user wrote, "I'm glad you're in jail now. Can't hurt anybody else. This is him, one of the many times he tried to break in my house. Hope they throw him under for everything he's ever done. Hashtag Keon King." 5 days after that video circulated on social media, officials confirmed they found human remains.
It is with profound sadness that we share the tragic passing of our beloved daughter, Kada Scott. We kindly ask for space and privacy at this time as we process the heartbreaking events of the past few weeks. Our hearts are shattered, yet we are deeply grateful for the outpouring of love, support, and prayers from people across the nation and around the world.
Investigators made the heartbreaking discovery after getting a very specific but anonymous tip.
As of last night, our office approved charges, as the DA just said, of arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, unauthorized use of an automobile, tampering with evidence, recklessly endangering another person, and receipt of stolen property. Those charges are in reference to the burning of a vehicle. That vehicle is a 2008 black Hyundai Accent. That vehicle first entered our radar last week. Investigators received a tip that there was a vehicle burning and that vehicle had some connection to this case. At the time last week, when investigators went to the location where the vehicle was burned, that vehicle was no longer there. It had already been towed, compacted, and was in a junkyard. This weekend, we recovered additional evidence, including video evidence that confirms that this vehicle, we believe, is the vehicle that Mr. Keon King used to move Ms. Scott. We recovered video out from near the Ada Lewis Middle School, where our search and the investigator search has been focused. There's a rec center directly next to that school. Video evidence was recovered from that rec center, and we are now able to say that this Hyundai Accent was on location at all of the times we're looking at all of the pertinent points in the investigation. That vehicle was stolen on October 3rd from the area of 6600 Sprague Street. We believe that vehicle is the vehicle that was used in this case. That vehicle was then on scene at that rec center, which ultimately, as we all know, is where we found Ms. Scott's human remains. Video evidence indicates it was on location. Video evidence then indicates it leaves the location. It is burned on October 7th. It was located at the 2300 block of 74th Avenue. When this new video evidence was uncovered this weekend, investigators from the homicide unit cross-referenced all of this information with the cell phone evidence that we had already gained and we had already been using in terms of the kidnapping case and other charges. What I can share is that the cell phone evidence, the call detail records, and timing advance data as it pertains to Keon King's mobile device puts him at all of the locations that we're talking about. It's on scene when the Hyundai Accent is there at the recreation center. It is on scene when the vehicle is burned. Based on that, last night I approved those charges, and As the DA said, we should have more information in terms of bail and a preliminary hearing date, hopefully this afternoon or certainly by tomorrow.
So in addition to stalking, kidnapping, and false imprisonment, Keon King is also charged with arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, tampering with evidence, plus more. But as you just heard, he's not charged with Kada's murder yet.
Please understand, this is an ever-evolving, developing situation, both in terms of investigation and prosecution. There are things that we know today that we cannot tell you. And we cannot tell you for a variety of reasons: the integrity of the investigation, safety, the trauma that the family is dealing with is not best handled by their finding things out for the first time in the media. I have reason to believe that there will be additional charges that will be coming. Exactly when is unclear, and it may be two different groups of additional charges. But yes, we expect there to be new charges.
So what happens next? And could we see that charge upgraded anytime soon with all the evidence that's out there? I'm joined now by criminal defense attorney Safa Robinson-Ferrer. Safa, always great to see you. I have a really heartbreaking update to this case, and I was really holding on to hope that she would be found safe, but this update is devastating. I mean, her body was found in a shallow grave near a wooded area of a middle school. What's your reaction?
Completely devastating, and this echoes so many things that we're seeing across the country, similar to this case where we have young women who are being kidnapped and ultimately their remains are being found in locations. And some of these things stem from incidents where, you know, the young woman was maybe going to work or going to have some sort of other obligation, and for some reason they either meet up with someone or someone just ultimately victimizes them, murders them, and then their remains are found.
And I know police initially searched that area just days ago, but I'm super curious about the tip. Someone telling officials to go back specifically to that middle school, which makes me think that if Keon King is behind this, that he either told someone she was there or that he had help. But what do you think?
Absolutely. It's really going to be one of the two things. Either A, he told someone, and based on the information that he told this individual, he incriminated himself and informed that individual of where her remains could be located. A lot of times when you see cases like this, a person may have, you know, just a lot of sympathy or some sort of guilty conscience. And so they ultimately contact law enforcement so that law enforcement can continue their investigation into finding where the remains are. And it sounds like that was the case here. Or to the alternative, there was somebody else that was involved. And again, with regard to their maybe sympathy, public outcry, and other things of that nature, that guilt for them causes them to disclose their involvement to law enforcement. Or it could just be some member of the public who, you know, just may have gleaned some sort of information from somewhere, and maybe as a parent or as just a member of the community, they felt the need to share this information with law enforcement.
And then during the press conference on Monday, officials said that there's a lot we don't know and there's a lot that they're not going to tell us publicly. But why do you think, with all this evidence seemingly pointing to 21-year-old Keon King as being responsible for Kada's death, why wait to file homicide or murder charges?
I think that, and kind of to our last question, I think there's a good likelihood that there was someone else involved. And based on that individual's involvement, law enforcement, of course, doesn't want to disclose that as of yet. If they are planning to charge that person, they may not want that person to flee. Maybe they're looking for additional evidence that that person may have access to, and they want to just ensure the integrity of their case and of the prosecution to make sure that they are apprehending the appropriate individuals involved and that the evidence is preserved in an appropriate manner as to ensure the integrity and ultimately what the government and the prosecution would hope is a conviction at trial.
And just surrounding this case overall, there's been, in my opinion, I feel like there's kind of this understandable frustration with the court system when it comes specifically to this case. I mean, Keon King, he was accused of kidnapping another woman earlier this year. Those charges were dropped after the victim and another witness didn't show up to court. Now, in light of Kada's disappearance, now murder, those charges are refiled again. But I can see why people are upset, because it's easy to connect the dots and say, had he been in jail, Kada would still be alive. But what do you think? Do you think that the ball was dropped here?
These cases are extremely difficult, and I wouldn't go as far to say that the ball was dropped. But what a lot of people don't realize is that when an individual is arrested and they're charged with an assault or a kidnapping or something of that nature, the victim or the complaining witness, as we call it, in those cases are required to cooperate. And if at any point they decide not to go forward, not to cooperate, or not to testify at a trial, then there's a high likelihood that those charges will get dismissed. And there's a lot of reasons why individuals may not want to testify or come forward because, they may be embarrassed, they may be afraid, they may think that no one will believe them. But essentially their cooperation is required. And if not, you see instances just like this one where charges aren't pursued and then the defendant or the alleged suspect is left out in the public and will potentially or possibly victimize someone else.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people were kind of in fear of that in light of Kada's disappearance at first, and now that we know her remains are found. But there was this video that circulated on social media just days ago of what appears to be Keon King kind of peeping through the window of another woman's home. She's kind of yelling, "Call the cops." Like she seemed, and you could hear her visible, like kind of her being scared at this moment. But investigators also noted that he kind of has this pattern of this behavior, but it seems like from the point of being accused of kidnapping in the first case to what happened to Kada Scott, there seems to be this escalation. But what are your thoughts on his, alleged past behavior?
It is very odd behavior, but nonetheless, these things unfortunately do happen. And this is why there's the importance of, with victims and individuals who have been victimized, to continue forward in their prosecutions of these cases. For him to be allegedly peering into a window into a woman's home, having other allegations of kidnapping and things of that nature, it's no surprise that things have escalated here, and now it's alleged that he committed this homicide against this young woman. But again, we look at how could these things have been stopped or prevented before. Had he been taken into custody or prosecuted, then he may not be in a position to be out in the public. Not only that, but if there's something going on here rooted in a mental health nature, getting him the appropriate treatment so that he can ultimately rehabilitate himself mentally so that he does not go on to reoffend and things of that nature.
And as a criminal defense attorney, and I know you've worked both sides, but as a criminal defense attorney, how do you defend a client like this? I mean, he's young, yes, but he has this documented history, and I assume that will possibly be used against him in court, but what do you think?
So the most important thing is going to be to prevent that documented history from coming in at a trial. And typically the prosecution is not allowed to use that. Generally speaking, they may make certain applications prior to the seating of a jury at a trial to use those things should the defendant testify. But we ensure that those things are kept out of the trial, because you don't want the jury to have the information and think, well, because he did this before, he has a propensity to do it again, and we're going to convict him based off of those things. That's not what we want here. What we want is a situation that is based on the facts. So we're going to attack that for sure. I think that they've pinned his cell phone to the area, so it may not be a matter of, it wasn't me, it was somebody else, or maybe there was somebody else involved, and my participation was at the direction of this person. There's so many moving parts, and because we don't have the full story as of yet, it's difficult to say. And there's always either A, I didn't do it, or B, yes, I did do it, but this was the reason. And depending on what the reasoning could have been, could ultimately mitigate some of the facts that come out at trial. It's going to be left up for the jury to decide, and the government's got to ensure that they meet each element of each offense beyond a reasonable doubt, and that they bring enough proof to prove those things. And as a defendant, or as on the defense side, we attack those things. You can't prove A, can't prove B. You might have proved C, but you can't prove D. So there's a lot of moving parts to cases like this and how we might defend those cases.
And with what we know now, because I know there's still a lot of unknown, do you think that this was premeditated? Because I go back to just the fact that Kada was found in this shallow grave. That means that the grave was dug in the first place, but I'm also thinking, okay, how did we get to that point where a person had enough time to do that? I'm wondering, was that their plan all along?
It's very possible. And a lot of times you see in these cases, particularly when individuals are maybe in their teens or early 20s, where they've had this relationship maybe with another person, and maybe there's a love triangle that causes the death of one of the individuals involved, or maybe someone is pregnant and because there's an unwanted pregnancy, the other party may think that the only thing that they can do is kill this person so that that birth doesn't happen. It's very odd in the way that people sometimes think about these things. But that certainly could be the case here, that they knew each other. And so it'll be interesting to see what the nature of the relationship was between the victim and this individual, or if this was just something completely random. Maybe she went out to her car to get something and he comes and he picks her up and he takes her. So we just don't know as of yet, but all of those things are a possibility.
And I know prosecutors say that they're still investigating how the two knew each other and came to know each other, I should say, as well. Safa Robinson-Ferrer, I want to thank you so much for your time and your insight into this case. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
As of this recording, Keon King has not been charged with murder or homicide, but he remains in jail on a $2.5 million bail. That does it for this episode. Be sure to check out more episodes on the Law&Crime YouTube channel. I'm Elizabeth Millner, and this has been Inside the Crime.